Yes, I have gifts from God. An angel liveth in me. The importance of this issue is my Facebooks and data have been being shut down because of a takeover here in Battle Creek of leaders. We have 6 hidden nukes that were snuck in underneath that Chinese porcelain. It's been brought to my attention the Emperor of China has a contract on me also. They snuck them in through the Gulf, through U.S. Customs, through that Chinese porcelain, standing for New World Order. They were brought in through East Jordan Iron Works. You'll find it were brought to Battle Creek. They were brought up through Chicago, up 94, where the cables are. They were cut through Fort Custer through the 2-track, housed there, and then brought into Battle Creek City, right here on Territorial and 20th Street, where they were stationed and then moved around the city. There's one buried there. There's one up the road, up 20th Street on the east side, down in that valley where it's paved, under the pavement. They had set drainage pipe in the ground. Each missile is sitting inside drainage pipe. They didn't plan on back then, 30, 40 years ago, them filling up with water and freezing up here, that the nukes would freeze and crack that porcelain. They are leaking. You'll find one on the east side of Nip and Denzel at Fort Custer, where it's dead back there. And then you'll find a couple more up in Penfield on the north side of the duck ponds that were in the shopper being land sold. This angel that liveth in me, he does things even under my unawares. He puts me in places and gives me visions that I don't even expect. But he tells me he's the hunter, like Melchizedek, riding a Comanche, the red horse for all mankind. Now I'm telling you, General Banky had set up a plan here. Snuck in Chinese below our city, put that anthrax up on St. Mary's Lake with that rocket launcher below that deep end swimming pool on the corner of our drive. When we went to raid it, they all ran out of the house. Denny McComb and Mr. Ball were in the basement. They were all running out, dumping them jars on that fence line. General Banky ordered a man to push the tractor in. He hit that green chain link fence up there at Maria Potasson's property. Yes, she's been poisoned several years from that ancient disoxin. Russell Bates had tested it back in the 70s. It was number 2 disoxin, lethal poison in the world, number 2. One-time exposure causes cancer within 15 to 20 years. General Banky, before the raid, he'd killed several Spanish Mexicans right there in that ditch. And then everyone come running out of the house, throwing everything else in that ditch. And I heard jars breaking as I was filming. I counted 10, looked like 1 or 2 gallon glass jars with the disoxin. And they were breaking. Well, later the dogs had been digging up the flesh, going out in the yard, eating the meat. And that's why those dead grass spots are there. And in the summer it rises, in the spring it floats. They've been covering it up, calling it the bird flu. It's been causing all of our children across the United States and here in Michigan to have cancer. You'll find research Ford, he invested in a lot of the cancer clinics. You'll find my mother Maria was personal cook for President Gerald Ford. Love my father, Orville Case, dearly. And she was also betrayed. And this is just a tragedy and a disgrace of a takeover, because it's not war. Stealing our people and Social Security numbers and switching lookalikes and killing is not war. It's sneaky, sadistic murder, evil, wickedness. I want to remind you, I'm Michael the Warrior, your high priest of God, an angel liveth in me. I've been raised several times by God over the years. I was recently raised again from poisoning, hospitalized, and I'm purified now for you and God. And the life I lived was not the life that I had chose. After being mind therapied with a paper that was to sabotage my whole life. After that, at 15 years old, I had started the first Bible study prayer group meeting at Harper Creek School when I was 14 with Tammy Price and Brad Lefevre, Kathy Ryder and Troy Brandt and Miss Turner and Laura Turner, and many friends of mine were attending our prayer meeting in the morning. And the Davises and the Gunnings, they were all jealous. None of them had believed in God, and they betrayed all of us kids. They got the prayer meeting stopped and shut down. Mind therapy, Tammy and I. Rex Dean blackmailed Pastor Burdett Price to unmind therapy Tammy if he signed over the church, and left state and never came back. I witnessed it. Pastor Burdett crying, didn't know what to do. I told him to do it. Me and Russell finished this. Now Russell's dead, yet I'm alive. Russell Bates was a good man, stroked by his own adopted son, Brent Bates. Linda took him down for a flu shot, made me wait at the church. I went to go with. She said, no, go back in the church. I was ordered by President Gerald Ford never to leave Russell's side. Russell was sick. She took him for an unauthorized flu shot, which was an air bubble that gave him a stroke. He lost his memory, put in his will that until mine came back, no one got their money until my death or my memory was back. Brett and Linda tried to kill me before my memory just come back. Gerald Ford had allowed my Linda, as they swore her in, to be able to sell drugs through DEA for my protection through both the clubs. Unfortunately, Brent Bates committed a murder, blackmailed the clubs, started a war. He tried to frame me for murder when I was just a little boy. Special Fed had to clear that up. His son was put on ice in a location I'm not sure where back then. And then Brent and Linda covered that up. And then, like I said, suddenly Brent Bates has been at Nicole's all these years while I was illegally sentenced in prison under Conrad Sint. He was with the Burgess and Nicole, my son's mother. I've been betrayed by many. I found Brent was going through the attic, going through the garage. He's committed 2 murders. I'm asking for his arrest. I'm willing to testify against him. I'm giving my testimony now, and I'll give it again. Suddenly, we're looking for a place to rent. We go to Baker's, ask them if they need anybody to work. They said yes, called. My son took the job. My son suddenly ends up in the trailer Brent Bates killed his own son in. Then they're trying to sell me and my son that trailer. My son asks me for a ride home to his mother's after work his first week, and he finds a bow, a left-handed bow, and some other equipment, and I gave him a ride home to his mother's, and he's put it in the garage. Suddenly this Robbie's over there wanting to buy that kid's bow. This is just a major conspiracy. I was sold property that Brent had buried his own son on, I believe. I keep visioning something behind that garage. Nicole's called me away from them berry bushes several times back there this summer. I have a natural draw. I was sworn high priest, visionist, special fed, CIA, and British intel, including NASA. I tell the truth. I don't know who yet is alive yet and remains in my commands. So now this angel liveth in me and speaks out on his own through me. And it is very difficult for the man of me to make this stand. Yet I know the power God has given me in the raising that I have witnessed. Yes, I was raised in the UP after a tree fall that was deliberately cut down on me and not notched. My whole crew witnessed me scream out to God after they picked the tree up off of me. God picked me up off the ground and walked me down that highway. They carried me back to the van. I told them I'd just been raised not to touch me. And then they grabbed me up, picked me, and carried me back to the van. I survived that. I rode home to Dave Mason, told him about my raising from God. He covered that up and never told anyone in Battle Creek either of that. Yes, our city. They had set up the very evilest cult here in Battle Creek, made it their main headquarters. This plan was this tunnel underneath Nippendenzo, several tunnels surrounding the city of Battle Creek. They were going to pen us up out there at Target by the mall. And as Chinese do, throw us in duck ponds. I'm trying to stop this war, this evil takeover plot. Yes, your Laura Monday through Guardian was dating Jim Hazel in the 70s. Them two wicked people would go to a bar and drink, find a single lady, invite them out, and kill her. And they did it for frickin' fun. And like I said, I'm willing to testify against Crystal Kendall and the sister of the Collies. There was Jamie and Jody. I get them confused. It's a sister. She was riding on a school bus asking Crystal Kendall, what if I'm questioned about the murder? What do we do? What do we do? Crystal said, "Be quiet about the murder. Don't say anything." And she turned back and seen I was listening a couple seats behind on a school bus. She told Mark, "Suddenly I got Rick Baker letting Dave Kendall hunt behind my grandmother's on 9 Mile Road. I squirrel and deer hunted there my whole entire life. One morning I come through the fence row. I'm going down the trail. I'm squirrel hunting, looking up in the trees. I hear a noise. I look up and it's Dave Kendall up in a tree with a compound bow pulled back, saying, 'Hey, Case, lower your bow or lower your gun,' because I immediately flinched and raised my gun and pointed at his head. And he said, 'Lower your gun.' And I said, 'No, you lower your bow.' Well, he wouldn't do it right away. He finally lowered his bow, and I backed away with my gun on him all the way back out of the trail. Told Kevin Jakeway and my friends about it. We even went back there and climbed that tree, and he had to seen me coming all the way from the fence row of my grandmother's pines all the way down that trail before I'd even got to him, because he was up in that tree in that blind. He was there to kill me. I'd had my girlfriend, Jamie Weiss. She was like a dear friend to me. She'd come over to 9 Mile and play pool with me, work out and swim, play video games, ping pong. And then she would go home to Waddles Park on North of County Park. I think we were 13 or 14. She walked home from my house that afternoon after school. I want Dave Kendall questioned in her murder. I'm high priest Visionist. He followed her home and went in there and killed my Jamie Weiss. Now that other murder, there were girls at Harper Creek High School or junior high. Crystal Kendall had a party at Council Crest. One of the girls had a girlfriend, cousin from out of town. I want to think Lansing. Somewhere north we were investigating. And she was left at the party with Crystal by the girls that went shopping somewhere, I was told. I think it was Laura Turner and Kathy Ryder and some of the girls that hung out together. They came back and Crystal couldn't tell her where she'd went because she was out of a town, another county. It never got investigated here, and it was covered up by Jim Hazel, commissioner. Like I said, Crystal Kendall sold her for coke. It was her first satanic cult, and they murdered that girl. I'm willing to take a lie test. I did back then, before we were mind therapy and my commander was given a stroke. Actually, it was after my commander was stroked, and he kept me working up until I was 17 and went in a coma from a car accident. And yes, my memories come back. I was blinded by a laser light in that curve when I hit that speed bump. I knew it was a bright light. Now I realize now it was laser light. If you go down below Jim Hazel 76, there's a hidden room down there below that floor hoist. You'll find where Dave Mason went in and kept all of the Treasury duplicate books that he was taking $15,000 a month off city treasury. Then later they started keeping kids down there. You should be able to pull samples. Like I said, go behind Robert's storage where they just filled the pond in. You're going to find Jimmy Hoffa and his driver. The missing woman in the 70s in the white four-door Crown Victoria. Me and my grandmother Beer V case. Witnessed murdered. Jim Hazel punched her in the face and jerked her out the driver's window as we were driving away. I'll never forget the woman's eyes as she looked at me and my grandmother in need of help as we raced away in fear of our own lives. I'm willing to stand for God. God has told me to expose this. It was Jim Hazel. Tim Gunning Sr. was in the car poking a gun in her side. They were told to go get the wrecker. The wrecker came around and it was Rodney King driving. He jumped out of the wrecker to hook up to her front end while she was in the car, and they were trying to mug her as we pulled in. As we were driving away, I looked up in the wrecker and I seen Mark Banky holding a paper leaf bag like he keeps now. I was told he was collecting skulls. I could never vision what was in that bag. I wasn't sure if it was something was telling me a little boy. Later I found out he was collecting skulls. Yes, if you'll search Harper Creek out thoroughly, somewhere in our county, he's got an underground animal stanchion that's in a hill somewhere. I see it. It's got stone walls. It's a small hallway leading to an altar he keeps a skull on. Rodney King's his little gopher. Like I said, you'll also research Rodney King at U-Haul at Jim Hazel's. They would wait for a family to move. They know their destination and locations. They know the families all got everything they own packed. And in the 70s and 80s, we were investigating them for kidnapping and murder back then. They would follow the U-Haul to their first stop for gas or wherever hotel. They would kidnap the people and sell them for human trade, and then sell off everything they owned in the trailers. They even started using it for identity theft. They would just take another family over, pull into that town home that they had purchased, and just go in and act like they were that family. Hi, we're from Michigan. We're the Cases. We just moved here. So this is going to be a very difficult task to clean up. I'm hoping God doesn't just destroy all of us, because he has that option. The elders are all up there going to ask for justice of the families that Mark made disappear off our national registry, wiping out families to take over their social security numbers. We had researched in the 70s, there was already 70 some names wiped off our national registry of the United States. This is not a game, people. This isn't funny. It's hard for me because I have all this love and joy from God to share, and yet I have all this power and anger from the visions I see, the filming I did, and the murder I've witnessed. and then the raising of my own. This is just a disgrace to find the Bushes, the Clintons, the Levins, the Fords, Conrad Sint, Mark Glazier, General Banky, Mark Banky, Linda Bates, Brent Bates, Tim Gunning Jr., Travis Davis, Tim Gunning's aunt, the two-star general, I can't remember her damn name, in the investigation of the Oliver North. There were warrants for her arrest back then. She went under hiding under Bob Lewis's sister. You'll research, Bob's only got one. I recognized her blue eyes. I used to meet her with Russell Bates at the Riverside Golf Course to exchange cases of film and evidence that later we found she was never turning it in. You'll find Tim Gunning Jr. has been doing illegal CIA in our homes through Comcast. You'll find Mark Banky's crew, they've been using satellite phones out there behind UPS off Beetle Lake Road, running their own radios. Hard to catch. If you need the evidence, search the property in front of Tim Gunning's parents' homes. The one across from Beetle Lake Road, you'll find bones out in that field. You'll find them men and cars down in that pond they filled in. Search on the outside of Potasson's neighbor's fence row, the green chain link fence where it's pushed in, dented in from a tractor. You'll find a 20-foot white Chinese man-eater that General Banky placed there to eat the flesh. While I was filming with Russell Bates, we waited for it to eat a body, go in its hole. When he went down in there, Russell Bates attached a note to the stake we had made, and I ran over there and pounded it through its back in the ground and stuck it in there. So when you dig that, I was also told General Banky landmined it. So that back corner there by the telephone pole that my grandfather, Steve, from Consumers Powers, placed that pole there to mark that spot so they could never build over it or cover this up. Yes, General Banky was a traitor under Nixon working for Russia. And then we had another Russian party, Linda Bates and Brent Bates. Can't remember their Russian last name. But her brother's one of the wickedest killers in Russia there ever was. He beats babies in gunny sacks for fun. Russia's been looking for him for years. He's been hiding here in Battle Creek as Tawanda Smith Robinson, her dad. And by the way, he is her dad. He raped my great-grandmother, daughter of the chief up north. She gave birth to Tawanda Smith Robinson. She was really old, so she gave out money to the adoption agency here in Battle Creek and adopted her out as a native because of rape, and being Russian, they would have killed the baby. My grandmother kept it a secret, adopted her out for a couple $100,000, I remember. Later, she was sent back up as a nurse somehow. She was never to be told that my grandmother was her mother. She went up and betrayed me. Suddenly it was investigated. My grandmother died in her sleep from smothercation, they believed. Joanna Smith snuck her Russian dad back in this country after we had had him deported in the 70s for espionage on Beaver Island after he had raped my great-grandmother. You'll find he's been taking in our cops. Like I said, Tran Robinson was selling drugs, taking IDs all through the 80s and 90s, giving them to her father to duplicate our people. She was also calling officers to the hotel, prostituting, and then he'd come in with his men and switch out our cops. This is a national tragedy. I'm very upset because Mark filled so many people up in my city. They all work for him. And it's just sad. And let me tell you something. All you evil witches up there on St. Mary's Lake. All you vampires. And all of Mark Banky's people. An angel liveth in me. And this angel jumps from man to man, to woman to man. And this angel, when he comes out, he leaves as a ghost. And you think them black plagues and all them plagues can take out cities back then and then disappeared? That's that ghost. And so let me tell you all something. You think you're what? 15,000 people, 25,000 people here in Battle Creek, 50,000 people here in Battle Creek. I'm willing to die for the rest of the world over you evil bitches. 15,000, there's 66 billion people. Or million in this world, 66 billion. And you think you few thousand are more important to God than we are? You people are some sick, sick people. You call this war? I call it just like the Bible. Craftiness, evilness, sadisticness. And you're the people God's coming for. And you better reread Revelations. Because it says plucking. Read it. Plucking. A plucking of the evil. Yeah, Travis Davis, you stand up in my church preaching rapture. Yeah, well, that rapture's you assholes getting plucked by the angels. And I hope you understand what plucking means. Disintegration. To dust, ashes to ashes you go. If you're not raised and taken back with God. Something you all better be thinking of. Because this is a national disgrace. My own commander's probably not even going to let me live over this one. Exposing this to the world. They've already shut down my Facebooks just today. Under government investigation, it says. Well, I'm sorry, but I have a court-written document through NASA says I can't be touched, friends, or questioned for the rest of this deal. And this ain't a deal. This is life or death for the world. You raise them nukes and any Egyptians attack, we've got a world war that's going to be destroyed. And this earth is God's garden. Your Garden of Eden is the earth. I think when you get up there in space, where else are you going to find earth? It's a sad, sick fantasy idea, Mark Banky. I had prayed and hoped that you had turned and changed and been better than your dad. Instead, you became worse. And God had told me to wait, only to defend. So now, Mark Banky, since you attacked my family first and broke, there we go, an agreement, a deal me and you had in 1977, a special federal gag that you were to leave me and my family alone for life, and I gave you the films that you were on. I gave that case to Linda Bates to give to you. The Fed said they couldn't see it, or they'd have to confiscate it. And your lawyer signed that document with you. And suddenly you got me living on your property and working. Suddenly my doctor finds poison in my bloodstream, and I'm bleeding. I catch Bruce up in my apartment when I'm not home. Want a key. Then I find out you got me wood chipping out there on the island on Gogwak Lake. And I find out Conrad Sent was sitting there in his house watching me, Conrad. You bought a house there on Gogwak Lake, huh? I guess I got a little more catching up to do. God bless my city. Pray that this angel helps you finish this. And by the way, God's coming with angel ships of all of our ancestors. I'm kind of interested to meet my great-great grandma, Queen Neptini. Wow. When you want to meet yours, there's no honor in war and death, only in peace, love, and forgiveness. God bless.